Hey folks, David Stewart here. So the other day I made a little video comparing independent and self-publishing with traditional publishing, but I didn't talk about another form of publishing called vanity publishing, a very important topic that I should have talked about because it's something that ropes in a lot of people who are new to this particular game. Luckily, I did have a viewer point out some information in the comments. That is a Nito game, so thank you for that. But I wanted to make a video directly talking about it. What is a vanity publisher? A vanity publisher is any company that charges you money to be the publisher of your book. And this is an arrangement that in 2018 and for the foreseeable future, you want to avoid, and I'll explain why. Vanity publishing is actually pretty old. It goes back decades and decades. If you want to imagine before there was Amazon, before there was an internet where you could put out an ebook on all these different platforms and people could buy it from you, the only way to get your book published was really to have it printed and made into a book and find some way to sell it to people. So vanity publishers existed for people who weren't in the normal publishing industry to print up their book and sell it. So if you were a public speaker and you toured around doing a lot of speaking engagements and you had a book that you wanted to sell to people at those events, you could go through a vanity publisher. They would make the book for you, print up 1,500 copies, and you try to sell those over the next couple of years, and that's how you would use it. However, they're called vanity presses or vanity publishers for a very good reason, which is there are many aspiring artists that would pay large sums of money to these companies to print up 1,500, 2,000 copies of the book and have it sent to them so that they could say they were a published author without realizing that's not really the way publishing works. And the way normal publishing works is the publisher pays you royalties and publishes your book and doesn't charge you anything. In fact, they pay you usually an advance of some kind. They pay you money up front and then they go print the book and start making more money for you, hopefully. That's the way normal publishing works, not you paying a publisher to publish it for you. So people would pay a lot of money, end up with 1,500 copies of the book sitting in a garage. They could open up the box and show it to somebody at a party and be like, here's my books. I'm a published author. But no one really buys the books. They aren't in bookstores. A bookstore could order the books from the publisher or from the author if they wanted to, but there's no reason that they would know about that book or want to. The book might end up in the Library of Congress, but that doesn't really mean much. That thing is massive. I think it's the largest library in the world at this point. No one peruses the Library of Congress for forgotten vanity published memoirs and these sorts of things. So usually an author that subscribed to some sort of vanity publishing service really paid a lot of money and got nothing out of it other than boxes of books that they couldn't unload. Some niche environments like public speakers and other people who had large volumes of books that they could sell pretty regularly, a vanity publisher wasn't really exploitative and it wasn't really about vanity. It was about creating a product. But for the most part, it developed this reputation of being somewhat exploitive for very good reason. Fast forward to after the age of Amazon, and authors can just put their books on Amazon, put their books on Nook and Barnes & Noble, and sell them directly to people on their websites. What do vanity publishers have to offer now? Well, now they've rebranded and they're marketing under different keywords. You're going to hear lots of things like partner program, which is where you pay them and you're the partner somehow in the publishing of it, but it's still essentially vanity publishing. Author services, which is going to be maybe the same thing, publishing services, rather than what you would normally do as an independent publisher of your own book, which is to pay people directly, pay them ad hoc to do each thing. You hire a cover artist to do that sort of thing. So what's appealing, I think, actually in the modern period for vanity publishers to authors that might be new to this game is that they're going to do everything for you. You don't have to learn how to identify what a good cover is or find a good cover artist. They'll hire a cover artist to make a cover for you. They'll do the interior design of the book. They'll proofread it. They'll print it. They'll do all that sort of stuff. But even in 2018, most of these deals include a mandatory minimum order of your book. So like 1,500 copies of your book that you get sent and are sitting around in boxes and you have to somehow sell them to people, versus what is much more efficient, which is to just sell them directly through Amazon or do print on demand. In fact, in 2018, I can't think of any good reason to print large volumes of books, even if you're going to sell pretty large volumes of books, because you don't want to be sitting around with all that inventory on hand. Who knows how many years it could take to get a return on your investment when you buy 1,500 copies of your book. My books are all done through print on demand, meaning when you buy it on Amazon, they print the book and then send it to you. It's not print it until somebody wants the book, and there's a big machine that can print it up in just a couple of minutes and then mails it out to you, and that's pretty cool. Now, it costs a little bit more per book to do it that way. However, the risk is so much lower, it's really advisable to do print on demand. And if you go through CreateSpace, you may find that you get volume discounts. So if you are able to move large volumes of books through your own sales channels, like through your website or through different events that you might attend, then you do get a deal from having a volume order, but it's still probably worth your while to just order the amount that you know that you can sell and not have extra risk sitting around, extra investment that you know you have to recoup somehow. That's like a risk. It's like throwing money out into the void and hoping it comes back to you one day. You don't really want to do that. So in 2018, it's a much better idea to learn how to publish your own ebook, hire a cover artist that you like and learn how to find a good cover artist, learn how to format the interior of your book or hire somebody to do it. It's not very expensive. And you'll find, comparing it to the service where they do everything, if you do each thing one piece at a time, if you do it piecemeal, it'll cost a lot less money overall, and you'll probably end up with a better product because you're going to hire directly a good cover artist. If this Vanity publisher doesn't have a good cover designer on staff, you may end up with a bad cover, you may end up with bad design, and there's nothing that you can really do about it. Even more predatory, I read about these horror stories on like Writer Beware, which is a blog from the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers of America. People that paid the publisher and the publisher also got the publishing rights. Normally, when you have a traditional publisher, you give them your publishing rights and then they publish the book. You can't publish your own version of the book while they're publishing it. That's the whole point. And then they pay you royalties. But if you're paying them and you're giving them the rights, then they don't really have a big reason to go sell your book because they know that you're going to want to try to get some money back. You're going to be trying to sell the ebook. So you go out there and you hustle the book and essentially make additional money for them. And good luck getting your rights back because they only revert back when the book has been out of print for a certain number of years, or there's a certain number of years after the initial publication, depending on your contract. So lots of people have gotten duped into very exploitive contracts using some of these companies. I don't recommend you use them. They're just not necessary in 2018. I'm not willing to say every single one is a scam, but if you want to be an independent author, I think it's going to be much better for you to learn to do these things yourself or learn to find and hire the right people to do the job that you want ad hoc, a specific piece of the job, and then put out the book yourself. Then you have control over the advertising and everything else. If you sign your publishing rights over to somebody and then they don't advertise, you can end up in a bad spot. If you pay somebody for 1,500 copies of your book and then you can't really sell those books through Amazon except if you become an Amazon seller, then that's a little tough as well. So there's no reason to do it. Just do the print on demand stuff. That's way less risk for you and it works just fine. I haven't had many problems with it other than early in 2018. A lot of people had delays on some of my paperbacks, and I think that was just for a bunch of logistics reasons as they were changing over to new equipment and things like that. So that's the info that I have about Vanity Publishers. I recommend you avoid them. Just in general, it's going to be better if you learn to do this stuff. Do this stuff yourself if you want to be independently published. Don't look at Vanity Publishers as a way to split the difference between traditional publishing and self-publishing. They're going to be the worst of both worlds, not the best of both worlds, not an even split down the middle. And chances are you're going to end up throwing your money down the toilet and possibly losing control over your book if you don't know what you're doing. So that's all I have to say about that. Hopefully that's informative and interesting for you. Don't forget, you can find me at davidvstewart.com and dvspress.com if you want to read my books. And leave me your thoughts or comments down below. I'm always appreciative of these. Now, I do have one more video in this series that is going to come out tomorrow that I can't really describe in this video because I don't want it, I don't want to describe it in this video. I'll leave it for the other video, and I'll say, have a great day to you.